Hello everyone, this is Mr. Brain Junkie here, and today we'll be talking about a science fiction monster film called Jurassic Games. Be ready for some spoilers ahead. Sometimes in the near future, death row criminals are given a chance to earn back their freedom by joining a popular reality show called the Jurassic Games. This forces convicts to survive or die inside a deadly virtual simulation in front of all the viewers, including their own families. One of the contestants, called Tucker, was found guilty of murdering his own wife, despite the overwhelming evidence of his innocence, and the man is forced to join this merciless game show as a last resort to return back to his family. Very soon, the criminals are sent inside the virtual simulation, where a masked man called the host begins explaining the rules to this survival game. It's quickly revealed that any deaths that occur inside this world will result in the death of the person by lethal injection in reality, and the people must complete their designated missions in time before the bombs on their collars can explode. The host explains that their first mission is to locate the nearby safe zone, but also encourages the contestants to kill their competitors in the process, as there can only be one survivor by the end of the game. What's even worse, the host quickly summons a gigantic dinosaur that roars furiously in front of the people, which causes everyone to run away in tremendous fear. However, the giant T-Rex eventually locks onto a fallen old man and quickly devouring the victim like a human sandwich, while killing the contestant as a result, which also causes the player to die in reality as well. This means that there are only 9 people who are still alive and have eventually made it inside the forest, while they are being watched by their audiences without a single shred of sympathy. Things become even worse as the contestants begin fighting amongst themselves with the intention to kill, but the host quickly assures his audiences that the criminals deserve every bit of suffering inside this game. The man reveals to his viewers about the crimes of the first contestant that was eliminated, and it turns out that the old man used to be a chemistry professor, but eventually became insane and blew up his own university instead. However, the host promises the victims' families that the criminals will suffer greatly, as there are even more terrifying trials awaiting the convicts in the near future. At the same time, the youngest contestant, called Joy, is wandering inside the forest while trying to locate the safe zone, but eventually runs into one of the vicious criminals, who begins attacking her by choking her furiously. Luckily, before the woman is killed, she's quickly saved by Tucker from behind, but the man is clearly no match for the bigger enemy, as he gets continuously pummeled towards the ground. With no other choice, the main character decides to fight dirty while smashing the opponent's skull with a large stone and knocking out the man, but he's shocked to see the girl finishing the kill by crushing the enemy's head like a psychopath. It's quickly revealed that Joy is not so helpless like her fragile appearance would suggest, as she begins taunting the main character while revealing that she knows Tucker was framed for killing his own wife. This causes the man to be stunned in shock, while Joy quickly attacks the main character and strangling him by using a rope before striking the man furiously from behind. Things become even worse as the girl starts lifting the main character into the air by pulling onto the rope and completely defying physics at the same time, before eventually mocking the man for being a simp and leaving Tucker to die a horrible death. Luckily, before the main character can be killed, he's quickly saved by another contestant called Ren, who manages to cut the rope, and the man proposed that they work together for now until they make it towards the last mission. However, what the people don't realize is that the game masters have already sent numerous raptors towards their location so that the creatures can kill them horrifically. At the same time, a reporter working for the game show called Laura is interviewing the children of the main character as she tries to find out about the truth of the man's crime. To her surprise, Tucker's family is adamant about their father's innocence, and this begins making the woman question the integrity of her company's motivations. Very soon, Laura starts secretly going into her employer's computer to look for clues of foul play, and quickly realized that many of the convicts were falsely convicted on purpose for the dramatic effects of the show. On the other side, a criminal with long hair called the Wasp accidentally injured his leg while climbing down the hills, but things quickly gets worse for the man as he runs into a pair of brothers who are clearly here to eliminate the competition. Luckily, the Wasp manages to convince the brothers to join his side, as he knows about the pair's sick mother and promises to give them a lot of money for her operation. However, before their conversation fighting can continue. The people notice a pack of raptors approaching their way, but are surprised that the animals quickly disappear right before the attack, which allows them to escape away from this location. It's quickly revealed that they were spared by the showrunners on purpose, as the host wanted more suspense for his audience like a low-budget movie director, and promising a horrible death to all the unfortunate contestants. Very soon, the remaining survivors all managed to find the safe zone from different entrances, while barely evading the flesh-eating dinosaurs at the same time, as they carefully enter into a mysterious building towards the second arena. However, before the people can figure out what's going on, they are all knocked out by the showrunners from the outside, as the host decides to play a terrible commercial for his audiences while trying to sell his cheap action figures from Walmart. Thankfully, the man eventually decides to resume the reality show, but further displays his creepiness by touching the contestants with his oily fingers before eventually joining the people inside the virtual simulation. This quickly causes all the players to regain their consciousness, while the game host explains that they are all currently inside a maze which they must escape from, and the first person to unlock their chains will be awarded a powerful laser gun. Very soon, the host commences the second phase, while all the people begin scrambling to try and unlock their chains by finding a way out from the virtual labyrinth. Surprisingly, one of the vicious criminals called Albert manages to solve the puzzle right away and quickly grabs onto the weapon while threatening to kill all the other contestants. Luckily, Tucker manages to free himself just in time and knocks the enemy onto the ground, but things quickly become even worse as numerous raptors are spawned inside the building. This causes all the people to solve the puzzles right away, as they manage to escape the chains one by one, while Ren is the only one left inside due to his broken screen. Tucker sees this and quickly shoots the man's chain, while allowing them both to leave this area immediately. But instead of working together, Ren decides to march forwards all by himself, while leaving the main character behind. However, this turns out to be a huge mistake, as the raptors appear to be very intelligent and are obviously planning for an ambush, while Ren wanders back into the first room once again and gets completely surrounded by the vicious dinosaurs. Surprisingly, the man begins attacking the creatures like he was Bruce Lee, while trying to make all his ancestors very proud, but his kung fu skills are clearly only for show, as he quickly gets overwhelmed by the flesh-eating monsters. At the same time, the other contestants are trying desperately to locate the exit with little success, while the vicious raptors eventually begins coming after the people and eventually runs into a woman called Stephanie. Luckily, she's quickly saved by the main character, which gives them a chance to run the other way, while Tucker tries continuously to repel the dinosaurs by using his gun. However, the people eventually runs into a dead end, which forces Tucker to shoot the air duct and allowing the contestants to crawl inside immediately to escape from the flesh-eating monsters. Very soon, Stephanie manages to reach the outer wall, while Tucker is trying desperately to hold the monster back. This allows the people to escape the building as they finally reach the outside, but Tucker is quickly attacked by Albert, who steals the gun right away, only to realize it's out of ammo as he gets thrown onto the ground by the main character. However, their fight is interrupted by the game host, who decides to reward Stephanie with a map that reveals important supplies, as she was the one who escaped the maze first. The people sees this and begins fighting over the map immediately, while the brothers eventually acquires the item by force before leaving this location immediately to retrieve the supplies. With no other choice, Tucker decides to follow the people as well as they begin moving across the desolate lands, but the contestants quickly realize that the area is filled with danger and sees numerous dinosaurs in the nearby location. Things become even worse when the wasp is attacked by a giant carnivorous plant, which forces the brothers to desperately pull the man out as they try to save their ally. However, the older brother soon realizes that the man has been fatally poisoned by the monster, while the wasp reveals that he never intended to help the brother's sick parent, before eventually dying on the ground as well. This causes the older brother to become furious as he curses loudly towards the audiences in frustration, but the younger brother quickly reminds the man that they cannot give up so easily. Very soon, the people decide to continue forwards and quickly manages to locate the supplies, but the host suddenly appears behind the players and tells them that there are numerous landmines inside the ground. He demonstrates this by summoning a giant dinosaur inside the field, which quickly explodes into pieces from stepping on the bombs, as the only way to navigate through the landmines is by using the map for guidance. This gives the people no other choice but to move inside the next location, but surprisingly, the older brother decides decides to forfeit the game as he no longer desires to continue. After realizing that his mother would die from her illness, the man eventually blows up from being outside of the boundaries, while the younger brother is crying in agony. But what they don't realize is that numerous flying dinosaurs have noticed their location as well. Very soon, the giant creatures begin attacking the contestants and eventually manage to grab onto the younger brother before dropping the man and killing him horrifically. The other sees this and quickly rushes towards the supplies, while Stephanie manages to take the knife and the ammunitions all for herself. Unfortunately, it's quickly revealed that the woman was never a team player, as she refuses to help the main character by giving him the ammo and begins threatening everyone around her instead. With no other choice, Tucker decides to go talk to Joy once again, as he tries to convince the woman to work together until the last level, which will greatly increase their chances of becoming the final contestants. However, their conversation is suddenly interrupted by a loud scream. As Albert begins attacking Stephanie viciously, Tucker sees this and quickly strikes the man towards the ground, but is only stabbed by the enemy in the process. This allows Albert to grab the ammunition and the laser weapon as he begins shooting continuously towards the escaping people, but Tucker eventually manages to escape the location as he arrives towards a rocky mountain. Very soon, Albert is able to make it towards the main character's location as well, as he tries to track down the man by hunting him like a predator, but is only ambushed by Tucker instead. This causes them to fight furiously with each other and accidentally knocking away the laser weapon, but the two contestants refuse to give up the scrimmage so easily as they struggle desperately to grab onto the gun. However, their fighting eventually causes the weapon to be thrown over the cliff, while Albert decides to slide down the rocks like a lunatic and eventually getting back the weapon as a result. The man quickly decides to go hunt down the main character once again, but soon realizes that he's completely surrounded by a swarm of flesh-eating insects. This eventually causes Albert to be devoured alive by the horrific animals, while leaving nothing but bones behind, and even causing the host to become disgusted as well. However, the showrunners quickly notice that something is very wrong, as their firewalls are being shut down systematically by an unknown virus. Surprisingly, the people eventually trace the signal back to their reporter Laura, who has decided to betray her company alongside many of the workers, as they believe that the show must be stopped right away. On the other side, Joy has made it towards the Rocky Mountains as well, while the other survivors are all severely injured from their previous fights, but they're not willing to give up so easily, as this is the only way to return back to their families. Joy sees the injured people and decides to go finish the competitors, but she's quickly interrupted by a saber-toothed tiger instead. The animal eventually launches towards the woman viciously, but completely misses the human as it slides towards the cliff and quickly falls towards the bottom instead, while trapping itself inside the vicinity. This gives Joy a horrendous idea as she slowly approaches Stephanie from behind while knowing that the woman is severely wounded. However, she's eventually detected by the injured contestant and forcing Joy to confront her opponent face to face, while Stephanie is threatening the enemy to back off immediately. Unfortunately, this fails to intimidate Joy as she kicks her opponent over the cliff and turning the victim into cat food for the saber-toothed tiger, while ending her life in reality as well. Very soon, the show host announces the beginning of the final part of the game, while the remaining contestants move towards the glowing doors and eventually arriving inside a massive desert where only Tucker and Joy are still alive. However, the people are quickly knocked out by the showrunners once again and eventually wakes up with chains tied to their legs, while the contestants soon realize that there's no way to break off the restraints without the keys. Suddenly, the host appears in front of the people just like before, while reminding the players that only one of them can survive, and the man decides to show Tucker a video clip of his children in order to motivate him to kill his competitor. This causes the main character to scream in rage, but what they don't realize is that Laura has arrived into the control room as well, as she awaits for the opportunity to sabotage the game. Very soon, the show host begins explaining the rules to the final game, as a giant green circle is drawn around the contestants and completely surrounding the people. It's quickly revealed that the mission is very simple, as the players must find their respective keys to unlock the chains, and the first person to leave the circle will be the winner. Tucker hears this and quickly begins looking for the keys in the sand, but Joy has a different strategy in her mind, as she slowly approaches the main character while acting like an annoying brat before kicking the man right in the face. Surprisingly, the woman quickly begins revealing disturbing details about the murder of Tucker's wife, as she knocks the man man towards the ground once again. Joy eventually reveals that she's the reason for the main character's current predicament, as she was the actual killer of the man's wife, and the woman starts striking Tucker furiously while causing the showrunner to scream in excitement. Luckily, Joy was only capable of punching like a girl, as the main character quickly retaliates in rage, while the show host eventually decides to make the game even more difficult for the people. Very soon, the contestants notice that a gigantic T-Rex is charging towards their location while roaring furiously, and Tucker is nearly devoured by the flesh-eating monster as he gets knocked away like a flying ragdoll. This eventually gives Joy the chance to finally locate the key that unlocks her padlock, as she quickly rushes towards the chains and unlocking the device right under the giant dinosaur. Before desperately rushing away from this location, the showrunner sees this and quickly summons even more giant dinosaurs right in front of the murderous girl, which causes the contestants to be completely surrounded by the flesh-eating monsters with nowhere to escape. However, the people soon notice that something is wrong, as the massive dinosaurs begin roaring furiously towards each other while completely turning their attention away from the tiny humans. It's quickly revealed that the gigantic creatures were programmed to be very territorial, as the monsters immediately begin attacking each other by using their enormous jaws and causing the humans to run for their lives. Very soon, one of the T-Rex manages to win the battle, as it throws its victim crashing onto the ground, while also trapping the woman by jamming her chains. The remaining dinosaurs roar viciously towards each other before charging forwards into another scrimmage, as the giant monsters begin fighting furiously right in front of the people. Luckily, this allowed Tucker to finally locate his key as well, as he rushes towards the padlock immediately and eventually unlocks his chain from the ground, which allows him to run away from the gigantic monsters. However, Joy eventually manages to pull her chain away from the dead dinosaur as well, as she starts racing Tucker towards the outer boundaries. Very soon, one of the larger dinosaurs finally manages to kill its enemy, as it decides to go after the humans right away, while the contestants rush desperately towards the finish line, and Tucker manages to win by the skin of his teeth. This causes all the audiences to cheer in victory, as the murderous girl is finally killed, while the giant T-Rex is prevented from attacking the main character any further. However, before Tucker can be announced as the victor, the game is quickly hijacked by Laura, who has decided to end this reality show once and for all. The woman decides to force the host into his own game as payback for framing the innocent people, while the man eventually wakes up in front of the gigantic dinosaur, who only sees the human as a delicious human hamburger. This causes the T-Rex to devour the man in a single bite before roaring furiously towards the audiences, while Tucker is finally brought out from the virtual simulation as well. However, the people are quickly attacked by the security guards, who tries to kill all the rebels inside the company, while Laura is forced to fight back immediately as well, but is eventually fatally wounded by the numerous enemies. Luckily, Tucker managed to survive the crossfire from the battle, but the game show's dark secrets will be forever buried alongside the female reporter as well. Sometimes later, the main character is returned back to his family as an exonerated man. However, it's also revealed that the Jurassic game is still alive, as the showrunners have decided to upgrade their dinosaurs with deadly weapons for the future contestants. So what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my videos, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.